All right, anatomy of a trade desk. This comes from Arvind. And I just used Arvind's example, and thank you for sending other examples, just to see where we are. Let me just double check, and let me double check on where we are. And actually, I'm going to show you the latest really quick. There you go. So we're still in this range right here. And then this was today's bar right here. Okay, let's go and discuss this. So in the long-term channel and that Arvind is showing us, we are at the oversold condition. This is a weekly chart. We have been in this oversold condition, in this channel multiple times before, right? So we came out of here, we were below the oversold here, so that kind of extends this range for us as well. So it's possible that the price could go down to this level as well, and that would be still be okay. And then somewhere here. So just based on this picture, let me ask you a couple of questions, guys. Do you think that the trend is broken? Okay, I have only, okay, so yeah, coming in. All right, so everyone is saying no, it's not broken. Okay, great. But Franz is saying, but it's vulnerable. Well, I would agree with this. Okay, let me ask Franz you a question. Was the price vulnerable at this spot? And obviously when we say vulnerable, vulnerable to the decline, vulnerable to changing the uptrend to maybe a downtrend or to a major consolidation, like a cyclical reaccumulation. Okay, well, let's go with this again. Was the price vulnerable at this spot? Was the price vulnerable at this spot right here? Maybe like on this spot. Yes. Is the price vulnerable here? Yes. All right. So we basically are going through the same conditions, right? Where, patterns repeat. I could reverse this and I could say, how about for the strategy, we're gonna sell and we're gonna hedge every time there is some kind of closeness or touch to the defined channel, right? And we're gonna say that we've defined that channel within the first year, since inception. So like right here, we've defined it. How did we define it? There are different ways of how to realize that the mean is here, and then you use the overbought conditions, to do exactly that, just to create this line, and then this line comes naturally. By the way, could be a little bit lower here as well, but this is the point of touch. So imagine the strategy where we say every time it's close or touches, we short here, 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 here. And then our other strategy is going to be, okay, how about this? Every time in the oversold condition, we're going to be buyers or close to that. Here's another strategy around the price cycle. How about another strategy? Every time the price goes through the mean, on the upside, we're going to be buyers. And we're going to swing trade this into the overbought condition. Another strategy, right? So we already have 3 strategies here. What about if for those swing trades, we will add some kind of definition of the Wyckoff structure, right? So, and we're going to look into this trading range, this range right here, this range right here. Then let's say this range right here, this range right here. Some of those trades are going to go away, like this trade in the middle of the range, we would never do that. And probably that's it, right? Everything else seems to be okay. But we could be a little bit earlier into the swing trade. So this is how we would be thinking in terms of the strategies. Now, we are at the very interesting spot where we're saying it's an oversold condition, but it's vulnerable. So what do we do when it's vulnerable? We need some kind of confirmation. One way or another, either confirm that you're going to go up or confirm that you're going to go down. We don't really care just because we are not necessarily in this position, although a couple of you actually, had like a swing position here, right? And we were discussing that, and I said that, actually, if it breaks, it actually would be okay for a swing. So we need to find those confirmatory points. Is the price going to fail through the support, or is it going to go down and then go up again? Maybe we're in the trading range of this bigger magnitude like at the beginning of 2018. So we have to consider that as well. So with this, I want you guys quickly give me an idea of where you stand on this. So tell me, what are we doing here? And you can just write it down. I don't have the poll for you here, guys. What do you guys think? Should we keep it? Should we keep it and add more? Should we keep it and take, should we do nothing? Should we go short here? Because that's definitely some other things, some other action that we could think of. Let's see what you guys are saying. Okay, Rick, what is your comment here? Look for the confirmation and add or short. Okay. Long-term nothing, short-term possible short. Okay. Yeah, there is definitely some deterioration here that we could see. All right, so some supply that comes in. This was actually observed. This was good. Not a lot of supply is coming in right now, but the price moves down. So if we're not in the position, we're probably staying away still until maybe something like this. Then this would be very attractive. That type of retest if truly there's not a lot of selling that is going on. And we kind of don't see a lot of selling here, right? So this is selling, this is the value selling, 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 and then as the price goes down, please note that it doesn't necessarily goes aggressively to the downside, goes into the zone, but we need to see better rallies. We need to see a finding of the support, and we need to see this type of the confirmation. So let's just wait, right? So a lot of you are saying let's wait. Okay. Well, what about a short? How would the short work? I mean, somebody who is thinking that you're gonna short this stock, are you shorting right here? And then for what reason? What do you guys think? Would anybody short here? Not shorting here. Okay, interesting. A simple breakout strategy would probably suggest that, uh, let's say going through, let's say 185, about 180 would suggest that we are overcoming this level and, we could collapse. And I think it's possible here just because there are quite a few areas where, there was somewhat of an aggressive sell. Um, and we want to see demands coming in. That's the key. In a lot of cases, after the initial value selling, there might be some inactivity that would be depicted with the low volume signature. And then this would suggest that demand is poor. And I think that in case of TTD, I think I'm conscious about that. I'm still thinking like, well, how come demand is not showing up in a much larger way? So wait for the confirmation, right? Would it do this or would it just collapse? All right, well, let's see what's going to happen next. Eric is saying this was one of the biggest down reactions in the uptrend. Would we expect some sort of mini trading range here for reaccumulation as before, or distribution, or wait until the structure unfolds a bit more? We would be somewhere in phase B in this mini structure. Okay, if we're talking about the mini structure right here, yeah, we could be in phase B, and that's why we have to wait. But also just looking at the whole thing, at the whole cycle that we're in, we are definitely expecting, we're thinking like this is the range that had that stop in action and the supply came in. This is the range. This is the reaction that we had. This is the reaction that we have. And then a trading range. And then we could consolidate here for quite some time. So yeah, absolutely possible. All right, great. Where are we? Okay. Still some time left for the exercise. So excellent. Let's do the exercise. Yeah, we have a really good pace today. All right, guys. This is the exercise on selection. Your goal is going to be to select a winning stock, and the winning stock is going to be not the one that goes in your direction. This is not an interesting game. The bias game is all about that. The winning stock is going to be the one that is going to outperform. So let's dig into this, and hopefully we have enough time to go through the whole exercise. All right, and here is your first action sequence. We have 4 stocks. I'm showing you all of them at the same time. I want you kind of like to get a sense of where we are. And then, we could start discussing them stock by stock. So here is your stock number 1. And I put here the industry group. Please note that these are not correlated stocks. Different industry groups, different stocks. So what could we say about this? And maybe like a volunteer, anybody wants to step in? Feeling comfortable? We could go through this together. Let me see. No volunteers? All right. Okay, so okay, Eric is saying I'll go. All right, Eric. Eric, you're becoming, a regular contributor.
Hello?
Yes. Hi, Eric.
Yeah, I think the word's guinea pig or target.
All right, all right, all right. Okay, so stock number one, is it stronger than the group itself or is it weaker?
Uh, to, to be honest with you, it looks just like the group.
Okay.
That's what.
Yeah, and when you have those type of doubts, and by the way, there is some kind of echo in the background. I don't know, maybe I'm on the
Oh,
speaker.
it might be the feedback from the speaker.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. I don't know why it's not coming through on my. I know what I'll do. I'll switch my. I gotta switch my speaker off
Mm-hmm.
and go to headset for the.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Okay,
There we go.
so
How's that?
I think, yeah, I think it's better.
Okay.
So take a significant low and then compare that throughout both of the charts. And you could instantly uh, decide what was stronger, what was weaker. You could do the same for the resistance line as well. And you could basically say, okay, so what's the overextension here for the stock, um, over the group? Probably not as much, would you say, Eric? Would you say that the stock is weaker at that point? Just generally, kind of like in
Yes.
this area right
Well,
here?
there is no overextension above the prior high. It just touches the prior high and
Right,
reverses.
right, right, right. Okay, so this area is definitely weaker for the stock. So we would be expecting for what was this weakness, Eric?
Underperformance in the future.
Underperformance. Yeah. So look at how here the group is not touching the support line, whereas here, for the stock, we're very close. Okay. Well, what about next rally? What about this place? Are we stronger or weaker for the stock?
Weaker, no commitment above that trading range, upper trading range boundary.
All right. Would suggest that not only we're going to have some kind of reaction, but we're probably going to underperform more than the group itself. And look at what time we are breaking to the downside, kind of the same. All right. And then stock is weaker or stronger on the way down?
It looks weaker. It's very gappy. Not much of a rally back up to the ice like we have with the industry group, and then gappy following that attempted retest. That's what I see.
All right. So in general, we're saying that this stock looks weaker than the group. Okay. So what other observations could we make about this stock? What about volume observations? And specifically, I want to look at the latest volume signature. What does it tell you?
That a lot of people are trying to get out.
Mm-hmm.
It's above average, clearly above a sustained above average volume. If the blue line is the average volume, seems to be increasing on the way down and sustained, and it seems to be a little bit more gradual with the industry group. I mean, it's still increasing on the way down, but not quite as gappy.
Let me ask you a different question. What do you think big institutions, big market participants are doing here in this area? Where the volume increases?
Well, they're the institutional trend followers. That maybe this is like a a late capitulation.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Late capitulation, maybe general capitulation.
Yeah.
What does happen on, let's say, general capitulation? Uh, what do institutions do? I mean, you were talking about weak institutional hands, so obviously they're selling. What about strong institutional hands? Would they be buyers here at this point on the general capitulation?
Uh, well, somebody's buying that, right? But the
Somebody
price
is
keeps.
buying, right? Because I'm thinking, like looking at through this whole structure, I'm thinking, okay, so where is our early capitulation? Um, Probably this. We kind of see that increase in the supply
Mhm.
signature. Where is our late institutional capitulation? Probably this. Where is our general capitulation? Probably what comes after that. So general always will be going into the actual terminal climactic action. This is where everybody's just getting out. Retail, institutions. Prior to that, this looks like institutions are capitulating, and some of them are buying already at this point. Like on the way down, we see it from this, we see it from this signature. So there is some buying. If there is some buying, Eric, let's just speculate as to uh, what structural spot are we in?
Uh, well, then we would be coming into maybe a preliminary support. Uh, we could potentially be there, and then maybe a selling climax. Yeah,
Maybe. Yeah.
maybe, but it's hard to see because you don't see
Uh-huh.
what's happening before the
Uh-huh.
trading range. So I don't
Uh-huh.
know whether we're in a prior uptrend or downtrend, but
Okay.
that doesn't matter. We've lost 50% of the value, so that seems like a pretty good drop and maybe a value zone for somebody.
Okay. Could we actually kind of speculate whether this is, a possible stop in action? Um, Look at the volume signature, right? How it climaxes
Hmm.
here, and then look at the volume signature that comes next. So probably we see some decline in selling. So the momentum of selling actually goes down on that last move to the downside right here. And then we have this volume spike right here on this bar, so suggest maybe some buying is going on. All right, well, do we have any trades here?
Uh, Not for me. I haven't seen any confirmation of stopping action,
Right.
and after a move down like that, I wouldn't be touching the first rally. You would want to see what the automatic
Right.
reaction is, where it comes to, and see if we're setting up into a reaccumulation trading range.
Right.
We're early in a potential trading range, so I wouldn't touch it.
Right. And I think rightfully so, um, because this is not necessarily our trade. But if you're a speculator and you're thinking in terms of where the structure is, this is the same spot. So what is the trade that built in just naturally into that structure? A possible automatic rally, and
Hmm.
that would be kind of like the only thing that's going to be available to you here. Now, this automatic rally, we have to assess to what kind of degree we could have some kind of uprise in rise in the price into the automatic rally out of the selling climax. Would that be enough for the trade for us here? If we're
So, so,
short-term
yeah.
oriented traders.
So I've often found that I don't know if this is right or not, but often the automatic reaction comes up into the area of the preliminary support. So that would be about $6
Mhm.
on a $34 stock. So that's about 15%, let's say, if you caught part of that 10%.
Okay,
If
what
you caught
about the
part.
character with which the price might travel here?
I think it could potentially travel pretty quick because you probably have a bunch of people short in there. So
Uh-huh.
as soon as it started to take out that last red candle, you'd have
Uh-huh.
some forced buying, and it would head up there pretty quickly.
Okay, so and I'm drawing this candle. That was my next question. So we are improving as a class and individually because I had all of those questions in my mind, and you asked them before I did. So that's a good sign. I would agree with you that, and that would be my comment as well. The price, if it reacts into the automatic reaction, it's going to go probably into the area of the preliminary support. This is where they found some stopping action, so there was some value there and a fair price in their opinion. We definitely need some kind of confirmation of the reversal, although we're thinking that maybe we might be close here. So if we have that, we could be thinking about that type of trade into the automatic rally. This is something that also comes out of the deeply oversold condition. So when we look at the analogs, they are in the oversold condition as well, but this is extreme. So therefore, probably the rebound is going to be much better than what we've seen here or here. And I would probably concur that maybe 41, 42, or slightly above that, like going into, let's say, this gap right here into 43, would be that type of trade. So let's keep this in mind. Stock number one. Let's quickly go to stock number two. Eric, what do you see here? Let's first talk about the performance. So again,
same as before, we see so from the peak at the left, and you're drawing the automatic reaction. The industry group kind of peaks above. Our stock doesn't. I'm not sure about that up thrust kind of action in June. Seems to look similar. We're above. And just
somewhat similar. Maybe it's slightly stronger, or I'm sorry, maybe
so
slightly weaker. Slightly weaker.
Yeah, but then it kind of looks the same, and then to the last part of the trading range, we have outperformance over the.
Hold on a second. Let's look at the reaction in August, because I think this is very important, right? So what about that reaction in August? Are we performing or outperforming or underperforming?
Well, initially, I'm not sure on the percentage wise, but it looks like we're underperforming on the break.
What about the close?
The close of that first candle?
Yeah, like the lowest point. We've talked about the closes today, right? As kind of like the points of commitment where, we have some buying here on the selling climax. I mean, we see this from the tail. So we're looking at the close, and relative, to what we see in the group, what can we say about this close? Actually, this is the close. This is not the correct bar. Oh boy. All right, sorry about that. So here it is, and then here it is. Yeah, so that probably would be looking somewhat similar, I would assume. Yeah. Okay. PTP.
But what's interesting though is if you just look at those, and I would almost have to get a ruler out to see those two bars on that reaction down. The stock looks like it has some buying in it. The industry group, no.
Right.
The next day, the stock, tries to push down again, and the industry group is up. So I'm trying to figure out whether the stock is leading the industry group on those two bars or the other way around, I guess is what I'm trying to figure out. But,
okay. Bar number 1, bar number 0, bar number 2. Bar number 0, bar number 1, bar number 2.
Okay, so the stock looks stronger than the, well, I don't know, in terms of range, the stock went below the support but came right back.
Is this a strength?
Yeah.
So look at the same bar for the industry group, and then you said for the stock, the price came back into the trading range. What is stronger?
Well, I would say, you measure result 4 ways, right? So the industry group doesn't really penetrate that support level very much and closes on it. the stock goes
Okay,
way
so
below.
hold on a second, Eric. So you're talking about close, right? So close. We're
Well,
kind of
I'm
here,
talking spread, the
right?
absolute
Right.
spread, and the close.
Okay, so let's just go one by one. Okay, so close to close,
Mhm.
close to the spread.
Mhm.
Okay, so spread is increasing, kind of the same, right? In the way
Yeah.
of, yeah, so somewhat the same. But plus, there is a gap here, so there might be a little bit more weakness initially. Okay,
Mhm.
we're gonna say it's the same. Close to close, right? So here's this movement, here is this movement. Maybe the same,
Yeah, the same.
but close to spread is going to be different.
Stronger in the stock.
Yeah, stock is stronger. Why is stock stronger? Well, because of what Eric said, this demand tail and the volume behind it. Somebody that comes in and buys the value. So it was very interesting. On the gap down, the stock is much weaker, creates more value in the group where institutions are interested. And because of that interest in that particular stock as a potential outperformer, it starts to
Mhm.
behave better on the intraday. Okay, so by the end of the day, would you say that the stock has behaved into the close uh, more bullish than the industry group or vice versa?
Uh, I would say more bullish. Um, it's had, it went down and then it came right back up into the top half or third, whereas the industry group just sold off on that day.
Okay, great. So that first day is definitely stronger for the
Mhm.
stock. What about that second day?
We have a lot of effort, but it doesn't, it looks like it opened high and just sold off, but the industry group rallied.
Look at the low
Mhm.
of the previous bar. Look at the low of the previous bar. Where do we have the close? Where do we have the close?
Uh, well, we have a lower close on the stock on bar one, if we're using that same
Well, we're
nomenclature, and
looking at
then
the barn at the second bar, right? So relative to bar number one, what is stronger, what is weaker?
well, well, the industry group is stronger than the stock. The stock closed lower than the prior bar, and the industry group closed higher.
Okay, so we have
Am I not looking at the right bars, perhaps?
probably not. Yeah, so let me
Oh,
just
sorry.
double
Yeah,
check. Apologies. Okay, so we
no.
have
I'm gonna take
this.
a screenshot and
Uh-huh.
put a ruler on it. That'll make it easier for me.
Okay, I apologize. You know, my drawing is obviously very bad. Okay, so bar number one, bar number two, this is the stock. So what do we see? We see the close of bar number two as a higher low, correct, Eric? Than the low of bar number one
On 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 the stock, right?
on the stock. Yes,
Yes. Yes.
yes. What do we have here for the group?
We have a lower low.
We have a low, low. Stronger or weaker?
The stock is stronger.
So the group is weaker, and then we have strength on bar number one for the stock. Somebody's actively buying in. A lot of volume behind the bar number two, and we're saying that it's stronger as well. So we see that on the climactic action, the stock is outperforming. So right here, we're thinking, okay, so value investors are doing what? Probably buying into this position, right?
Hmm.
Okay, so then after that, once we define the selling climax, once we define the automatic rally, we have our range, and then let's go through the comparative analysis really quickly. Okay, this spot right here, stock is
Industry
strong.
group
Okay,
stronger.
this stock, okay, this this level right here, right? This low in October. What is stronger? What is weaker?
Stock is stronger.
Stock is stronger. Okay, great. So we said stronger at the support here on the selling
Secondary test.
climax. Yes. What about automatic rally?
I'm not sure what to compare it to. I mean,
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit hard here. So I would probably take this as the close when the price dropped, and then kind of do the same and just see. And I think they are somewhat the same comparatively.
what's interesting though is you've got kind of 3 highs in a row there on the stock that are slightly higher,
Yes,
and on the industry group they're just slightly lower, kind of downtrending. I don't know if
yes,
that means anything, but
it does. Everything means everything, right? So because what did Wyckoff say? I think this was one of his probably statements that, if I want to know one statement from him, that's probably it. Judge the market by its own action. All of the
mhm,
information on the bias, timing, outperformance is already on this chart. We just need to open up that secret, right? So why is this important? Higher highs, higher lows, because it's outperformance. It tells us that there is less selling and more buying in the stock than in the industry group. So we
mhm,
want to acknowledge that. Then you said that there is strength here at the conclusion of phase A, and we concluded in phase A was the secondary test on the diminished volume signature. Okay, so
mhm.
what about potential phase B? What
Well,
X stronger, a stock or an industry group? Just generally, just looking at the area.
I would say the stock looks, that next rally in B looks, the first rally in B looks better, and I don't know, it looks like we have
Okay,
more time above the above, or more commitment above the top of the trading range,
here you go.
whereas
Yeah,
on the industry group we have some time spent below that the top of that
yeah,
range.
everything's correct. Everything's correct.
Okay.
So, yeah, just keep going with this, keep going. So we're spending uh, more closes above the point of resistance that was created by the automatic rally.
Mhm. There's really no commitment below that range except for that one bar
Mhm.
perhaps
Right.
in that one there. And then it reverses quickly, whereas the industry group does spend some or does commit below that for half a dozen bars,
Okay,
I would say.
great. So strength on the climactic action, strength on the automatic rally, strength on the secondary test, strength in phase B. What would we be expecting going where? What, in the potential phase C maybe? Would we be expecting a strength?
We would expect strength in the stock, and we see that because we do a higher low
Mhm.
compared to the prior secondary test in A, and the industry group shows, I don't know, a minor sign of weakness. That's a pretty severe looking down reaction on the industry group, whereas the stock kind of has some little up movements in that down reaction. So it's less ease of movement down on the stock
Mhm.
than the industry group.
Okay, great. Let me ask you this question, and this question is for the rest of the class as well. Looking at the chart of the industry group, is this an accumulation or a redistribution?
Um, I don't see, I would say just to throw one out, because usually I like to spend hours and hours and hours looking at it. I would say a redistribution.
Mhm.
Uh, we haven't committed, well, going into the trading range, our bias is down.
Mhm.
We see some volume kind of at the top, and the result of that volume in the industry group is a lower low. And on the last rally up, we seem to have some selling tails, and we don't even touch the top of that trading range. So for me, that looks like a distribution, though.
Redistribution, yes. Okay,
Redistribution.
great. I want to hear really quickly your answers, guys. So just put either A or RD, and that would be enough, or D as for the distribution. Let's see your comments really quick. Okay. All right. All right. Maybe a couple more. All right. All right. Okay. So majority of you are saying redistribution, in line with what Eric is saying. Okay. So let's do this. This is a bias game, right? I'm asking you basically, give me the bias. I think Eric has started this analysis correctly. What's the environment? We are going down, and then we are going into a trading range. So we are in the downtrend, and then we are in the trading range, and we need to figure out, within this trading range, what is the bias? Okay, well, what would be the next thing, guys, that you would look at going through this bias exercise? So obviously, that first step was defined correctly. This is a change of character that leads into the downtrend. Lower highs, lower lows. Okay, so what would be the next step? When you look at the trading range, Eric, what is the next priority in the analysis of the bias in the trading range?
The next priority. I tend to try to look where the volume's coming in and then what is the result of that
Right. Okay.
supply.
A little bit hard for us to identify the volume signature on the industry group, wouldn't you say?
Yes, it's
Yes.
a little small.
Yeah, just because of this volume spike. Unfortunate that, we kind of like in between of the trading range was that. So let's just kind of look maybe at the rallies and the reactions.
Sure.
So clearly a move to the downside. And we're going to use the stock as the proxy for the group as well. Just because if, let's say, stock is doing something, it's probably going to be highly correlated to the group. And we see how these two charts are so similar, right? So
Yeah.
for the untrained eye, it would look almost the same. But for us, there are just subtle differences. So
the volume profile might be similar, right?
Exactly. All right. So we're going to use the stocks volume profile just to help us out a little bit. Okay.
Sure.
So let's compare this reaction and then the subsequent reaction right here. They're of the same magnitude.
They look to be, yeah.
Yeah, and we're gonna look at the volume signature here in the same way. So, how would we analyze these two reactions, and specifically the second one? Is the second reaction more bearish or more bullish?
Well, I would say more bearish. I mean, it's produced a lower result on similar volume.
Okay. All right. So let's decipher this.
Similar spread, sorry. That's what I mean by result.
Okay.
Similar range.
Oh, you
but
mean
a lower
like
result.
The distance that it traveled?
Yeah, the distance traveled,
Okay.
and then so that's the spread of the move.
We probably would have to go like this, just because this is the highest point here, or we can take this and we could just compare like this, right?
Yeah,
So
I'm just looking at what's highlighted.
Okay. All right. Let's do this. Okay. So we have this, and then we have this. Okay. So we're saying 2 is bearish. Okay, so and then what are the bearish characteristics here? So a low, right? So we have a commitment below support. Okay, so what's important about this commitment is this a temporary commitment, or is this more of the commitment where we are permanently committing something like, maybe like this, where
No,
there's,
it's clearly temporary.
yeah, so temporary means that we are committing with one or two closes and then quickly recovering. And that usually would suggest that there is some kind of value here. That's why the recovery is so quick. And
Hmm.
we should be expecting a rally from here, which does happen in this case, right? So we are committing below the previous low. How
Hmm.
many closes do we have? Maybe like two or three. And then we are recovering, not necessarily very quick, but still we are recovering, generally quick. Okay, so even though we say that there is a commitment, the price came back into the trading range and actually came back significantly above the 1/2 point. So we can't really say that it was a permanent commitment. It was probably a more temporary commitment. Would you say?
Yeah, and it's also the from a structure perspective, the second kind of test of that, if we want to call that first circle a selling climax, the bottom of the trading range. So maybe we're early and maybe we're still in phase B here, potentially.
Selling climax, test, test, test,
Oh,
test. So I'm
no,
probably
maybe
thinking
not.
this is phase A, right? So we've
Yeah.
tested, we had all elements, stop in action, change of character, test, test. Probably we're done, with phase A,
Mhm.
right? So probably the same for the, for the industry group. Okay, so we are saying that this was a temporary commitment. When do we have a temporary commitment below the support? How do we call that? And then the price recovers back into the trading range.
A minor sign of weakness or
Mhm. Minus sign of weakness or
a spring.
spring. All right. So this is where we are. This is the biggest question, structural questions. Are we in a spring situation, or are we in the sign of weakness situation? All right. So with the sign of weakness, if we're still in phase B, then we would be expecting what? An upthrust,
Uh,
LPSY,
Maybe.
right?
Oh, in terms of what comes next?
Right. Uh-huh. In the structure.
Uh,
If we're thinking that this is a minus sign of
oh, I see.
weakness.
Yeah, we would see a UTAD potentially, or maybe an equal high,
Or
but
LPSY. Right.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we are expecting a rally from here,
Hmm.
one way or another. Whether you're thinking this is a distribution, or whether you're thinking like at the low, so you're thinking that this is an accumulation, you're still expecting a rally. If this is phase C, there will be a rally. If this is phase B of the distribution, there will be a rally into the
Hmm.
LPSY and into the UDOT. Okay, how about this? So we've talked about the low. How about something else? How about a down spread? Which one is more bearish and which one is more bullish? One or two?
Um, well, I don't really know how to answer that other than
Think about the here on the down spread. Think about the size of the spread itself,
mhm.
right? Think about also how closes are located to each other, right? So here, for instance, we see closes have that, increased momentum to the downside.
Yeah.
Here, closes are a little bit more, sticking together, especially at the end of this reaction right
Hmm.
here. So it seems to me that reaction number two will look a little bit more bullish just because of lesser selling and how those bars do look to the downside. And then there is
Yeah,
maybe some buying behind it as well.
it looks like my first thought when I was looking at it was like the first reaction looks like a free fall. The second one looks like almost like a 1, 2, 3, you know.
Right, right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, that type of reaction.
Yeah.
And look into this area. This is very laborious. This is attempt to go down, up, attempt to go down, up, attempt to go down, up, attempt to go down, up,
Hmm.
down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. There is a lot of volatility in this area, and we know when there is a lot of volatility with no result, usually this means that demand is behind it. In this case, in the accumulation, obviously, you know, if we're thinking accumulation. And we
Supply
would,
is going down through that little kind of flat range with no progress, right? So
okay, this is a test,
absorption.
right?
Yeah.
And then look at the character with which the price rallies out of that.
Right.
A lot of demand again. So
Hmm.
demand increases on value buying, supply decreases through the absorption, and then demand increases again and pushes the price in synchronicity to the upside.
Hmm.
Okay, so another thing here about number two. Let's talk about, okay, so size of the spread closes. We've talked about the intention. Okay, and we said that the intention seems to be not to be a major sign of strength, a weakness, but either a minor sign of weakness or a spring, and we're expecting a rally. And looking at the stock, we've seen a lot of buying, right? So we saw a lot of buying here, and then we see some
Hmm.
buying in this area. Okay,
Hmm.
one more item here because this is a very kind of like heavy content chart for us. So we define that there is some buying in this area, the price stopped from going up. We've defined some buying here in this area and also on the way up. Well, what happens in between in phase B? Is there anyone that is buying in phase B, or is there anyone who is selling in phase B?
Anybody that matters, you mean?
Well, I guess. I mean,
Yeah.
like, what do
Yeah.
you think? Like, they bought in here,
Yeah.
and then what do they do next? I mean, like, what does CO do next? Like, looking at the
So
volume signature.
nothing, I guess, is the right answer. He's inactive.
Hmm.
The
And this,
volume's dropping off, but
right?
then we kind of have it jump up again.
Hmm.
Uh,
So let's think about the market participants. So
mm,
CO is going to be comprised of value strategies and momentum strategies, right? So value and growth or trend followers. So they are buying here, CO is operating here, CO is operating here. In between, let's say the momentum trend followers got into this trend somewhere here, maybe on the breakout. What do
mhm.
they do here?
uh, well, it's not progressing to the upside, so
Huh?
they're on the second test. So it went up. Maybe they're selling because they're expecting an overbought condition. But then on the second test, the volume really picks up and no more upward progress.
Uh-huh.
So that looks to me like there's like some supply coming in, so they're getting out.
They're getting out. Everything's correct,
Mhm.
Eric. Everything's correct. So just have to have more high conviction in what you see, right? But that comes with practice. That's gonna come. So this is the trend followers that are buying. They are
Mhm.
thinking, okay, it's taking off. We're seeing kind of like this test. We saw the climactic action. We gotta get in. So they're getting in on the way up in this area right here, and then they stop buying.
Mhm.
As they are in this position and the CO in this position, their behavior starts to differ. The trend followers are going to be all relying on the performance at this point of time. For the CO, performance at this point of time is not as important because they are still getting into the position. their
Mm-hmm.
preference to accumulate the position at the lowest prices, so therefore they will be waiting for the value again.
Mm-hmm.
Trend followers cannot afford this. They have to get into this position, and then they have to bring to their clients some kind of performance matrix where
Right.
they say that, listen, we got into this stock and then it just took off, and we are producing absolute return and relative outperformance. So we
So
definitely,
they might have held in for that first reaction down to the top of the trading range, and then on the next rally,
right?
which looks poor until it gets kind of up to the top, the volume really starts coming in.
Right.
There's no further upward progress, and then it's like, okay, this isn't going up anywhere. We're out. Is that
Yes,
okay?
absolutely. So here they see in deterioration
Mm-hmm.
in both absolute and relative terms, and then they're starting to sell on the way out, and they're starting to capitulate. So here, there is a sell-in by ITFs, institutional trend followers, into the value, into the strength. And then they start selling into the weakness, right? So capitulation, capitulation, and then kind of like this general capitulation. So a small downtrend, which we could, break down into those same segments where we see that not necessarily CO who bought as a value investor is selling, but the trend followers, just because the price just goes down and they don't want to be in the position that underperforms on both counts,
They've been in that position for a quarter, and it hasn't really
right?
gone back up the way they expected. So
And this is the thing with the double bottoms. This is the pattern, double bottom, 1 and 2. Phase B, whenever it spends time here, it shows strength, long-term strength. And usually this type of stocks are really great stocks for us to pick up into phase C, just because we saw what strengths we had in phase B. It just basically gives us an idea that CO and trend followers got into the position, trend followers got out, and that's the last supply that the CO gets at the point of value. So now think about this: absorption of the supply, and then absorption of the supply again. What should happen with the stock? It's not just going to go up. When supply is exhausted and phase B is showing that strength, it's going to run.
mm-hmm.
So we're probably going to have both increasing the momentum and the velocity. All
So,
right.
I guess the thing that's a little misleading is that selling tail on the second last bar, but that could just be the normal reaction at the top of the range, and we're forming an LPS type thing, is what I think is
Yes,
being suggested.
absolutely. And think about the current market. We just kind of had today this type of bar, right? So we might be expecting, today's bar suggests that the next movement, tomorrow is going to be 50-50, 50% to the upside, 50% to the downside. That's what this bar it tells us. Why to the downside? Well, it has a supply tail. Why to the upside? Well, we're still in the um, upswing. We have not had a reversal. So, there might be some absorption here. And we
And
see,
not a lot of supply on that either. That second last bar, right? Very lower
yes,
supply. Yeah.
actually both of these last two bars, right? Not a lot of
Mhm.
supply. So it does look like a potential LPS. So now combining all of this together and just kind of like thinking this through, we see how stop in action is being tested. Then a lot of investors are getting in. They're spending a lot of time in this trade. Some of them are getting out. There is an attempt to commit to the downside, yet CO is coming in and buying at this point. Very bullish behavior on the rally, and last point of support has no supply. Biases to the upside, we know that stock is going to outperform the group. and we also know that most likely we're going to have acceleration to the upside. Why don't we do this? It's 5:30, 5:33. So I'm going to show you guys what comes after for these two stocks, the stock number one and stock number two. And then next class, we're going to continue with this exercise. Okay, so for that, so that I wouldn't show you everything, I'm going to stop, and then I'm going to show you what happens. Okay. All right. Okay. Let me know when you see my screen.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, great. So stock number one, industry group number one, we were talking about this action right here into the climactic action. We said that maybe there is some kind of preliminary support, selling climax. If we are going to have a bar like this that reverses that climactic action, and that bar is going to have that momentum characteristics, this is going to act as the reversal, and we would be expecting some kind of automatic rally. We said that most likely we're going to come to the point of the preliminary support. There was another test here that could spook us here, but the price did go exactly in that range. Okay, so this is where we are. We're going to analyze this next step in the next class, but let's look at stock number two. Here it is. All right, so both the group and the stock went up, but what's important to us is just to see a couple of things. Did the stock outperform the group? Eric, what do you think?
Clearly. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Did we have out of phase C, the story that we've created, a situation where the stock has moved with such bullish characteristics where we had increase of the momentum, increase of the velocity, and so on and so forth? Did we do that?
Yeah, very little down reactions on that whole up move.
Exactly. So why did it happen? So much absorption here, so much absorption here. There's a lot of strength in phase B. The group is confirming. Please note, and for the November special, we're going to be talking about momentum and velocity, two different things. Momentum is accelerating as the velocity is accelerating. And then what happens further with the momentum? We see this from the spread. We see this from the swings, right? So shorter swings, smaller spread. What does it mean? Momentum is decreasing. Velocity is decreasing too. It takes more time for us to travel the same distance as we've traveled before. So velocity is decreasing as well. We could be expecting some kind of reaction, not necessarily right away, but in the near future. And then the last leg is very interesting because velocity-wise, it's probably somewhat the same or close to that, or slightly less. But momentum clearly is going down. We could have situations when momentum deteriorates and velocity kind of stays the same. So the momentum accelerates the velocity to a certain level, and then velocity could stay at that level, and momentum could, start going down. And this is just like, some of the things that we will be discussing on Thursday. All right, great, Eric. Really good job. Just keep grinding. I can't say anything. Keep grinding.
Soldier on, they say. Yeah,
Exactly.
I will. Thank you.
Cut wood, carry water. There is nothing else for us to do. All right, guys. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
All right, guys. This was a lot of fun. So let's do this next week again. I definitely might show up for next class. So Thursday, tomorrow, WMD, for those of you who are attending. Thursday, for those who want to, dive into the momentum, volume, and structure, the class is on. And then next Tuesday, I'll be expecting you guys here. Thank you guys so much, and I'll talk to you in a week. Bye-bye.